Hello and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all the PlayStation and gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games or up in the digital cloud on your podcast service of choice. We've got a great show lined up to you for this week where we talk about the various LEGO games that may have been cancelled, the PS5 finally outselling the Switch, and Suicide Squad is delayed again. And to help me on that is none other than Mr. Rob.
Hello. Sorry I've been absent as of late.
It's fine.
Back have been my dreams of late.
Yeah. But I think before we go any further, we've got a massive piece of housekeeping to go into, Rob. The usual hosts of this show.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? I'll let you go.
Yeah, I'll go. I was better at a game than Chris. That's the news, right?
Well, that's one of the bits of news.
Yeah. I feel like that's the biggest
I think that's the biggest bit of news.
Hours.
Yeah. That's kind of it. That's bigger than the PlayStation outselling the Switch.
Yeah. That bit of news there is far, far bigger than one of our longest friends becoming a father last night.
Yeah.
The usual host of Talking a PS, Chris.
Yep, for the first
has
time.
Become a father.
Yep.
And
so
we wish him all the best and
lots of love and
a
all
lifetime
the best
of happiness.
And congratulations to Mr., Mrs. and baby Chris.
Also, I am better at a game than Chris. So
yeah.
Just to put it out there.
You know what? As of this morning, I officially am worse than Chris because he got past the first boss and I couldn't. He's had two gaming sessions at it though. I haven't. So he's
true.
Yeah,
true.
And I'm probably never going to go back. To be fair. But anyway. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you know when all of great content goes live, such as XPass. I was about to say Talking the PS there, but that's this show, XPass, which goes live yesterday. We've also got the ClickerCast for you this evening, 8 p.m. GMT, where we're hoping Chris might be able to make his return on that one to round up the last episode of Season 1 of HBO's The Last of Us. And it might be the last ClickerCast. We might do one more. We're not quite sure there yet. And if you want to know how much better Rob is than Chris at Warlong, we had a weekly live stream. Went live last Friday where Rob beat two bosses. No, he didn't beat one boss, but he beat two now.
Yes. So at the time of recording, I'm still on the high of the past kind of 24 hours where I successfully took on... what's his name again? Zhuge Liang, I think, and beat him. Took me about 15 goals and a lot of self-motivation. But, yeah, I like the game, Richie. I know you were getting frustrated at it, and I know lots of people have been review bombing it because of the difficulties with the first boss. But I like it. I've went back to play it, and I defeated the second boss today. So I think I'm going to keep playing.
So you are complete convert then? But that's what you talked about this on the stream actually, because you like the setting.
Yeah, like the setting for people who are unaware is based off the Dynasty Warriors series and like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And historically, there's only been two games, well, three if you count the Total War strategy, which is really minor. There was only this one game where you could experience that story being told, and it was a very similar style year upon year, and it never really changed. But with Warlong, we finally get that story told in a different format, in like the Dark Souls kind of style, if you want. And yeah it's fantastic, especially when it's effectively free on Game Pass as well. Like, you know, I feel like that game has done so well for being on Game Pass. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I do recommend doing so.
Definitely, it is worth checking out. It's like, I don't think it's for me. I tried. I give it an honest try for about 2 hours during the stream. I was playing at the same time as you. Might be a video going up for members only of my perspective of that, because I did record it, but I haven't checked through the footage yet. But if the footage is decent, I might just put that up for members only. But other than that, been playing anything else, Rob? Or just Warlong?
Little kind of sprinkles outside of Warlong. So I'm still plugging away at Hogwarts Legacy. Like, my girlfriend's getting frustratingly more more frustrated at me because I'm only kind of playing at like half-hour stints, and she just wants me to like kind of commit to the game and kind of power through to completion. She's nearing the end of her second playthrough, for the record, which is crazy. So the thing is, she wanted to make like an evil character who kind of embraced all like the dark arts spells and stuff like that. And the one kind of frustration she has had with the game, bear in mind she's a massive, massive fan of the game in general, is the lack of consequence to what you would dub like the evil or bad kind of decisions. So I'm still plugging away at that.
I get that myself, actually. Like,
like I kind of get the feeling that like you're on like a railroad, like, and then like a bad option kind of takes you off slightly, and then immediately puts you back onto like the central track with nothing else really happening. So, but regardless, I'm still enjoying that game, and
the consequence just seems to be locked to whatever scene you're in, and then when you move past the scene, it's just back to where it was.
Exactly that. So, a bit of Hogwarts Legacy and a tiny, tiny bit of Age of Empires 4. I need to give that game more time because I will get sucked into it, but life and such means I don't have the luxury of that. So yeah, we'll see. What about yourself?
I've never actually played Age of Empires 4. I mean, it's on Game Pass, so I have it. But every time I fancy playing like a real-time strategy game, I always end up going back to Age of Empires 2.
Yeah, like, absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I should give it a go. I should give free play as well. I haven't played free in a long time. For me,
I like 3.
For me, it is mainly Hogwarts Legacy still. I didn't play anything for the front half of the week. To be honest, it just didn't have any time to actually play anything.
Yeah, pesky life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pesky life. And then also played a bit of Warlong on Friday along at the same time as you. That didn't go well for me.
How are you finding Hogwarts Legacy still?
I'm not as enamoured as I have been. I was, but there again, I'm about over 40 hours in at this point. So it's now I'm getting to the point where I'm now thinking about let's push towards the finish line.
Yeah, like I've had enough of my fill of the universe. Let's kind of conclude this.
Yeah, and then I think what I'll do is I'll push towards the finish line, completing all the major like side quests and stuff. So along the way, and then I'll decide at that point how close I am to like the platinum. Is it worth going for it, or is it not? I'll decide at the time. But I do have Octopath literally on the shelf behind me waiting. So, and it's getting really good reviews. It's like this is. I think this is why I'm now at the point where I need to just get through Hogwarts, because I've got the next thing lined up already.
This is the issue I'm having just across all media at the moment. It seems like there's lots of demands on my time. So there's like TV universe. There's like The Last of Us. There's The Mandalorian. I'm a big fan of the new season of Picard. So that's like 3 kind of 40 to 50-minute TV shows on my card. Like games coming out my eyeballs. Like I need to conclude some things, and I think you're right. I'm kind of keen to get to the end of the Hogwarts Legacy now to move on.
I think this is also why I'm not interested in the Last of Us. I'm very interested in The Last of Us. I'm not interested in The Mandalorian at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really heard anything about it that makes me go, I need to watch this.
It just kind of came out this season.
Yeah, it's just like it's just more Mandalorian. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I enjoyed the first season. I even enjoyed Book of Boba Fett for what it was.
Holy shit! Okay, that's one person then.
I mean, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed a bit of it. Like, I do think Boba Fett is a character that is just completely hyped out of all proportion for a character who, in the original trilogy, basically did very little.
Yeah, like he stood around and died, basically.
Yeah, and then for some reason they bring him back to basic fan service. But anyway.
Yeah, it was a bit cheap.
Yeah, it's just. Yes. Anyway, that just my thoughts on Boba Fett aside. Like, yeah, I don't know. This season of Mandalorian, I don't have Disney Plus at the moment, and I think Book of Boba Fett doesn't seem to be Mandalorian doesn't seem to be enough there to actually make me want to get that sub yet.
Yeah.
It's something I'll probably will watch when I next sub to Disney Plus.
Yeah, fair. Very fair.
But I think that's enough of that. So, Rob, would you like to introduce us to the
properly prepared PlayStation perusing points, aka the news?
The news. And as always, our news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p, getting early access to custom emojis, access to custom emojis, access to custom emojis for the YouTube chat, and early access to some of our shows, such as this one. If you're Helix Hero, you might be watching this show right now. So, Rob, first topic of the week: Lego games. Apparently, various Lego games have been put back in the box as TT Games goes all out on Harry Potter. So,
I mean, the success of Hogwarts, can you blame them, really? Like, this feels like them really doubling down to ride the wave, right?
yeah, but I mean, we're talking about Lego games here, not just WB games. So is it like, I think the strength of the Lego games has always been in like they've found like it's their own kind of genre, their own kind of style to them, and it's always been in the let's use different IP, let's put our own kind of comic beats into our own gameplay into different franchises.
No, I get it, but I think there's always going to be pressure from like the parent company WB, and I think they've finally got this might sound unfair, but I think they finally hit a gold vein when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy, and someone higher up has just looked at like a spreadsheet and thought, okay, we're doubling down on this, and then just kind of filtered that down, and it's kind of stamped out some. To be fair, there was going to be some pretty interesting titles coming out of Lego, like from TT Games. So there was Guardians of the Galaxy game in the works, which is, I think, been completely canned, or not just kind of delayed, or like put in hibernation. A Disney crossover, if I believe correctly, that's also binned.
A Lego Batman, like some of these I think could be really, really cool as well. I mean, I'm not personally into the Lego games. I've never actually really played one for more than like an hour.
Yeah, I've always been a casual enjoyer. I know Chris is kind of a huge fan of it's like all of them, especially like kind of like the Star Wars related ones. Kind of another theory, perhaps, is obviously TT Games have had some pretty negative press come out about them with regards to kind of crunch and working culture and a bit of kind of toxicity around, especially the release of the Skywalker saga. I kind of feel like maybe if they're genuinely trying to fix that problem, putting all your resources into one title as opposed to kind of like overworking the team, maybe that's something that's kind of played into the decision, because like some of the press that came out was pretty damning in, I think it was 2020, I want to say. I think it was like 20. There was a run of news stories, I think, from like 2018 to 2020 where pretty much everyone was getting like condemned because of like it was a massive problem in the gaming industry as a whole. Crunch, right?
Yeah, crunch, and like people working like over 100-hour weeks, pretty much sleeping on the floors at the desks. That kind of like culture just became normalized, which is not. It should never be.
That's the crazy thing. Like, I can always appreciate certain kind of scenarios that anybody's work is going to involve a degree of crunch, like at key times. But I felt like a lot of game publishers, like they programmed it into the schedule where it's like, oh well, in these like this last month we can just like book in 100 hours of resource per person per week, and as you said, it became normalized.
I think it was just, I always looked at it as this is poor management. Like, you're not giving your team the resources they need to do their best work, and sometimes the best resource is just more time. And it always felt like agree. You mentioned like the decisions made by purely someone just looking purely at a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. It always felt like a spreadsheet sort of decisions, like we want the game to come out in this window. Therefore, regardless of how good it is and what we have to make our staff go through, this coming out that window.
Yeah. It's almost like someone just like took the number of hours it'll take to complete the game and then divided it by the amount of weeks that they had and just thought, that's the number. Regardless of the human consideration, that's the number you have to hit to make this game a reality. But I think TT Games got a particularly kind of bad response to it because like a lot of the employees like start referring to their kind of mental health as PTSD. Like it had its own kind of catchy name, right? Like that's always going to get picked up. Although very good from the staff.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
I think it is completely fair actually to say like they've looked at the success of Harry Potter because Warner Games have been pretty much not doing well for quite a while at this point. And so it's like Hogwarts Legacy is like a rare gem in their like recent gaming catalogue where it's come out and people went, yep, we like this is good.
Yeah. Like you can imagine like the executives at Warner Games, like they see like they're doing their kind of like annual report or something, and like they're finally thinking like, thank fuck we have something good to include in this report, as opposed to using the word challenging again and again and again, which they've been doing for the past couple of years.
Which is basic code for poor performing.
Exactly right.
I do slightly worry they have just entirely just looked at the spreadsheet and went, oh, Hogwarts Legacy is doing well. People into Harry Potter. Let's just push everything into one IP. Where for me, the brilliance of Hogwarts Legacy is in how the IP was used and how it was handled. It was handled with a lot of respect, and the world does feel like you're living in that Wizarding world.
100%.
You're not going to get that from a Lego game. You're going to get a very different experience.
Yeah, and I think the Lego game has to, like, obviously there's no details on what it's going to be like, but I feel like they can't stray too far away from the movie franchises with a Lego game, right? Like, I don't know. That's what I feel like the route they'll go down. Because remember, we've already had like the Lego Harry Potter games. Yeah, it's just going to be like the Skywalker saga equivalent, right?
Which came under a bit of criticism. Like, I know Chris kind of said it's simultaneously kind of too long and also too short, or everything just feels condensed. Mm-hmm. But then to actually like get the platinum trophy, it's ridiculous. So it's like kind of that weird. I think Chris kind of enjoyed, from what I remember, I think he enjoyed it, but it's like this could have been better.
Yeah, especially for how long it was in development.
Yeah, it feels like almost they're trying to throw too much stuff in there, so they've had to cut important stuff out. And I could see the same thing happen for the Lego Harry Potter thing, where because they're trying to cover 7-8 books effectively, that's a lot of material.
Yeah, and arguably it's some of the deeper stories which could kind of add an element of interest, like the whole kind of house elf rights thing from the books never made it into the movies and things like that. But I think they'll just, I don't want to say they're going to churn it out, because I don't think they will. I don't think Lego kind of stands for that type of quality, but it does seem like a pretty, not blatant, but easy to spot kind of cash in, really.
Yeah, I do slightly worry that they've looked at, every people into Harry Potter right now, where it's actually no people are into this one particular game because it was done very well. This is not necessarily a return to like the peak of like Harry Potter. It's just you've brought out a good game and people are going, yeah, actually this is the sort of game I've wanted from that universe for a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
But, let's move on to our next story of the week. Rob, I mentioned earlier the ClickerCast every single Tuesday, which is today. If you're watching this as a not member, we go live 8 p.m. GMT, where we break down The Last of Us. And Chris has been asking you every week on your view on the most recent episode. So that will have been episode 8 for you.
Yeah, episode 8, should I say. Like, in lots of ways, emotionally kind of cracked me. Like, I've loved the series so far, but there hasn't really been that kind of, I guess, like, perfect moment in, at least between Joel and Ellie. Like, obviously we had the Bill and Frank kind of story, which is fantastic in its own right. But episode 8, like when she kind of, again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, but when she gets out of the situation she's in, and like there's that kind of moment between the two of them, it was just perfect. I have no words to kind of express how good that payoff was, because it has been a slow build up in terms of like action and kind of, you know, pacing of the TV show, which I think is dead right to do so, but it was really nice to have that payoff.
Yeah, my assessment's kind of the same. I'm glad they've been a bit more reserved with the action, because then it doesn't get watered down. So when it happens, it is actually like you are on edge watching it, because it doesn't. You don't get like acclimatized to it. You're not having. You're not seeing, like, if you go to the previous episode, when they're in the mall, it was only one clicker.
Yeah.
Well, it was one runner. That was the threat, and it did feel like a threat, because we haven't seen like Joel and Ellie just make their way through hundreds and like
exactly, which could have been they could have very easily fell into the trap of doing that on a TV show. And also, I feel like we saw Joel we got like the glimpse of what he was like in the first episode at the end.
Yeah.
But like, you really saw kind of his brutality come out in the TV show in this last episode, which again was kind of a really nice payoff, because you would have seen that if he was just kind of, as you said, like just running through clickers and infected. But
it's a
the
kind
payoff
of
was very good.
Deliberate brutality, where in the first episode he lost his temper.
Yeah,
post-traumatic stress disorder, just went violent. This was a different kind. This was the stuff that he's hinted at throughout the season, where it's kind of like, no, I've been on both sides. He's thought about this stuff. He's thought how to do it and then executed it. It is that kind of premeditated violence rather than just emotional violence.
Yeah, which is
like
so much more scary.
Oh yeah, it's like he's capable of like, yeah. So anyway, I can't believe it's like the last episode. Like tonight.
Yeah, it's went so quickly, right?
I know.
I'll be interested what they do for season 2. How they'll handle that. I feel like not to get too deep into it, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of flashbacks.
Yeah, I almost think what they could do is set the entire season in flashbacks. Not actually do it as flashbacks, but actually we're just gonna the stuff that is kind of flashbacks from in Last of Us Part 2. We're just going to tell that stuff now.
Yeah.
Leading up to maybe season 3 becomes part 2. And
yeah,
then
I'd be completely content with that.
But I asked this to Chris during ClickerCast, so I'm going to ask you as well. Do you think we'll see Abby?
Again, it depends how they do season 2. Because I feel like if they do season 2 and stick to the part 2 of the game, I think they'd need to introduce it in the last episode to kind of like build her up in a way. I don't think they'd have enough time to do that in part 2, but
see where I'm kind of at. I think we're going to have like a similar to a Dina situation, where there's someone in the background of a shot. The camera lingers on them for a bit longer than you would be to kind of go, is that?
Yeah.
Kind of like, so they're not. It's like a non-committal. Like there she is.
Yeah.
Like,
so maybe it's her talking to the
because
the person who
she's in the hospital at the time.
Yeah.
So that's where the next episode's set.
Yeah.
So I don't think she might not be named, but I think there could be like a background character that you see is like, oh, is that?
Yeah.
Like a kind of a wink to like people who've played like the second game.
Yeah. I mean, at the time of recording, we're only 2 days, less than 48 hours out from it, and I'm strapped in for it.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, the last bit of Last of Us news for this week is apparently someone's recreated the entirety of Billstown from the show in The Sims 4. It's just a little quirky tidbit I just wanted to throw in there because, like,
I love Sims creators. Like,
yeah,
for anybody who hasn't like dipped a toe in it, like the subculture around like the Sims like game is insane. Like you have like entire forums and subreddits dedicated to them making like what they call Sims legacies. So it's like families splintering off into like hundreds of different kind of families, and like they play these like kind of legacies for like years and years and years. And yeah,
it's like how some people play Football Manager for like 30, 40 seasons when every single player in the game's actually retired. It's just all regens. They're just doing that with the Sims.
Yeah, but it looks great. Well played for the person who did this.
Yeah, I mean, again, with The Last of Us, 8.1 million viewers on debut.
Pretty good, right?
Which is, I presume that's the people who watched it live and not people who watched it on streaming services after the fact.
Yeah, that must be right. But yeah, HBO, man, like they're just
it's grown week
exceptionally
on week.
Consistent. Like,
how many shows have the numbers grow week on week like this?
Yeah, again, it's like the HBO kind of standard is like consistently excellent and excellently consistent. It's yeah.
But you know what is also growing at the moment? PS5 sales in Japan. So for the first time ever, the PS5 has outsold the Switch in February 2023.
So I feel like this is great, but I feel like it's a bit of an unfair comparison. I mean, like, how old's the Switch now?
It's like 5-6 years old.
Yeah, and it's like everybody who wants a Switch in Japan, I feel, would more or less have one. Whereas, like, I feel like
probably
the PlayStation 5,
or 3.
Yeah, right. It's like they've probably lost one on the bus and then bought another one. But I feel like the PS5 is finally hitting its stride after all like the troubles it's had kind of with stock and things like that. It feels like it's starting to come alive. So yeah, what was the figure? So 360,000 units in February, which is 4 times higher than last year. Yeah.
But see, I think I agree with you 100%, where I think it is kind of an unfair comparison. Because, as you said, like, one's fairly new hardware, one's 6-year-old hardware. It was March 2017 the Switch came out. So it's like literally is 6-year-old now.
If we went back like to a couple of generations, that's like the end of the life cycle for for a console, right? Like
and it feels like
rumors start to come out of the Switch 2 or whatever.
It's happening. I don't know whether it's just people willing it to be into existence. I know I certainly am kind of willing this next Switch into existence right now. Mm-hmm. But like the last few years, we've had a global chip shortage, which the Switch using older hardware, not and lower powered hardware is actually easier to produce. So it hasn't been as affected as much. It's been notorious for like the last 2 years, people struggling to get their hands on PS5s. It feels like that's alleviating now. And I'm hearing from some, like, especially in some of the American gaming podcasts I listen to, like, they've recently been saying, I've been into shops recently and have seen just PlayStations on shelves. And it's like, that was mind-blowing for them. It's like, I don't think the UK was hit that hard, to be honest, with it. But
I don't know, like, I don't really know because I don't go into shops, like electronic shops much anymore. Unless I want to buy a new TV and I want to actually go and see the TV before I go and buy it online. Sorry, Currys. I don't go into those types of shops much. So, again, I personally haven't noticed it. I knew I couldn't get, even when I bought my PlayStation 5, like, what are we on now? Like 6-ish months ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, I could only buy it as a bundle product. I couldn't buy it on its own. So I've got like the God of War kind of bundle with it.
Oh, damn.
Which I still haven't actually played, by the way. It's criminal that I haven't played that game. Man. But I just haven't.
Finish Hogwarts Legacy and play that.
Yeah, right. As I said, too much media to consume at the moment.
Yeah.
But one other kind of thing which probably is helping the sales of the PlayStation in Japan, Hogwarts Legacy. We're looping back around to Hogwarts Legacy. It's only out on PlayStation and Xbox. Ain't nobody buying an Xbox in Japan, so you have to think that's giving it a nice little boost in numbers.
I mean, we can go into Hogwarts Legacy, actually, because there is a story referring to Hogwarts Legacy. I was going to put that in the show, but fits nicely here. Hogwarts Legacy is being delayed again on last generation consoles. What the kind of I want to go with you, Rob, is it even a point in bringing them out?
So I thought about this before the show, and I think specifically for Hogwarts Legacy, there probably is an argument for bringing it out on last gen, and it's purely for the people who are extremely casual gamers but massive fans of Harry Potter, who probably have a PlayStation 4 just knocking about as like a Blu-ray player or like something like that. That's what I think they're going to try and appeal to. But I mean, it's not particularly like taxing game in terms of like resources, even though I have noticed I've been like, when I've went to enter new areas, I do kind of run into load screens at doors sometimes.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but I think like I think it'll do okay on next gen, and I think it's one of the rare arguments I'd make for a game to the developers to put some effort into a game to bring it to last gen.
Well, I think part of the problem is this game was delayed quite a few times, so it probably should have been out, I think, about a year ago.
Yeah. At which point the argument's much, much stronger for last gen.
Yeah, it's just that I think I kind of feel like now, like, the chip shortage is effectively over. As we just said, there's more. You can actually go into shops and buy current generation consoles. Mm-hmm. Like, it took 2 years to get into it, and which is probably going to actually extend the lifespan of this generation, actually.
Oh yeah,
but
totally.
It now feels like we're at a point where it's like time to just kind of say goodbye to the PS4.
Yeah, I'd agree. And like this comes from like a position of privilege to say this, but I'm ready for last gen to be put to bed now.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's rumours in this generation talking about their Series S holding back game development. That's where like a lot of the industry is shifting to. Is like, well, this like low entry level of console is that holding us back?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like PS4
is, yeah.
and Xbox One, it's kind of like, well, these are holding us back more. It's like, to be fair, playing the game, as much as I love it, you can tell it's made cross-gen.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
which is fine
mirrors.
for a first iteration of
Have you found mirrors are kind of just like flat, lifeless?
Yeah.
It was weird. It's like, even PS4 I've seen a lot better mirrors than that.
Yeah, mirrors and water I particularly notice.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I got over that quite quickly because I'm just enjoying the game. So
yeah,
I
you
think
can forgive a lot.
If the game is mediocre, then it's graphically shoddy in places. That's when stands out more to me. But if a game is really fun, stop caring.
Yeah,
like
like they've hit the fun factor, haven't they?
Warlong isn't very pretty, to be honest.
Oh God, no, it's it.
But even last night, Friday night when I was playing and getting frustrated, I'd completely after like 10, 15 minutes, I'd just look beyond the graphics.
Yeah. Basically, because you don't have like a split second to actually look at the graphics because there's too much happening.
Yeah. But you know what probably will be pretty, Rob? Oh, well,
what?
I don't know if you've actually played it. Resident Evil 4.
The Resident Evil 4 demo is on my play. I've downloaded it. It's ready to go. As soon as we get through these recordings, I'm going through it.
Yeah, right.
In the darkest of night as well, so I'm very, very brave.
Oh, you're a braver man than me. I've never played Resident Evil 4.
Oh, you definitely should. So yeah, for those who aren't aware, the demo kind of did a very sneaky drop a couple of days ago now. It's a time demo, so you can kind of rush as much as you can to kind of get as much content in. And yeah, there's rumours. I'm not sure on the mechanics of it, but there is an ultra hard mode specifically for the demo, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's what the rumours. Some people are reporting that there's an extreme difficulty mode called Mad Chainsaw mode, which you can unlock after beating the demo and starting it again. Reading from Eurogame now, Mad Chainsaw mode will be applied only to the single playthrough. you must wait until Mad Chainsaw mode is triggered again for subsequent attempts. So if you fail, you have to probably have to play through the entire game demo again to unlock it.
Yeah,
again.
No, this is the crazy thing, right? So it doesn't appear consistently as an option. It only kind of, it seems like there's like a random mechanic where you get the option to play in that mode. It's not like a thing you automatically unlock, which fits into the ultra hard mode.
Yeah, it's also it's very difficult to even actually start the game on Mad Chainsaw mode.
Basically, yeah, which makes it very mad. But from what I can tell and what I've read, it seems like enemies are much more aggressive, much stronger, and the quantity and placement of them has also changed from the kind of like the base difficulty. So someone like me who, if like the remake's going to like be faithful to where enemies appear, like I've played Resident Evil 4 so much that I know exactly when enemies appear. I know kind of how many are in a given area. Like I'm that much into the game, so to have it completely wiped and be kind of updated, again adds to the Mad Chainsaw mode. Also, the chainsaw guy is probably on fire. I've also heard those rumors.
Yeah, what do you think about it? Just like a weird kind of like random lock on it. Like, oh yeah, you might boot up the game. It might be there, or might not be.
It's a weird one, but when I think
it's
about
just
it,
there to cause like people that make it a talking point.
I think in the context of Capcom, it's not as weird as it would be with another kind of developer. Yeah. In the Resident Evil, in the Resident Evil 2 remake, I think there's a mode where you play as a giant piece of tofu as a character model, and all you have is knives and no guns. It's like, it's Capcom. I'm not going to kind of question them too much because
it's not the existence of the mob for me. It's if it was like, okay, once you could beat the demo on the hardest difficulty available, you unlock this like super hard difficulty. That's kind of par for the course, really, stuff. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that it's random.
Yeah.
Whether you get the chance to or not, that seems weird.
Also, as well, like, this mode isn't going to be in the actual game.
Yeah.
It's just for the demo, which...
That's why I think, have they done this purely to make it a talking point, so people get talking about the demo? This is this weird thing that goes on it, like...
Perhaps.
I think you've tried to keep it in the conversation a bit.
Yeah, but I feel like the demo would have done that by itself. I
mean,
this is probably one of the most, probably the most anticipated remake after number 2.
I mean, Resident Evil 4 is usually amongst the conversation of greatest games of all time.
Yeah, rightly so in my opinion. So this demo would have done fine by itself. So if you try to question the minutiae of Capcom's kind of insanity, you will go insane yourself.
Yeah, so it's weird.
That's what I'm putting it down to.
Resident Evil 4 I kind of think is a weird... It kind of serves a weird place in my mind, although I'm not a big Resident Evil fan. Simultaneously, it's lauded as one of the greatest games of all time, but it also seems to be a turning point for the season, where the series, where after that point, that's where kind of games started going a lot more action-based, a lot less survival-based. It seems to be this is the pivot point.
Yeah, and strangely, like, they reached that arguably highest point they could. It seemed like they had a new kind of template to work to, and then just kind of like started abandoning it for number 5 and 6 and 7. Not 7, just 5 and 6.
I wonder if it's at one of them things where they've made it more action. It's sold really well, really critically well acclaimed. They're going, oh, people like the action, let's make the next game more action, rather than realising, no, you've nailed it. You've got the balance. What you've done there is that's it. That's the formula. Do this.
Yeah, definitely. But as I said, this will be played again and again and again by me, and the game itself is going to be a day one release for me, and I'll probably book the day off work to play it as well.
Oh, that much, yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of game for me.
Oh, well. But you know what, Rob? Where on earth is Burning Shores? So, Horizon Forbidden West's first DLC, Burning Shores, is out soon, and basically PlayStation have not said anything about it.
Yeah, it's weirdly quiet about it, right? For arguably
Next month it comes out, April the 19th.
Yeah. And this is the franchise that seems to be Sony's next kind of big investment to make it transcend the gaming world, right? Like, you got like the TV shows kind of in development.
It's what they launched PSVR 2 on.
Yeah. It feels like, I don't know. I know PlayStation have been playing a lot of things close to its chest, but I feel like with like the release schedule it has at the moment, they could have done a much better job of talking this up. Yeah, it's a strange one for me. Like, bear in mind, I'm not kind of like super kind of into the Horizon games generally, but like for fans of it, I'd be kind of a bit frustrated. Like, what's kind of your take on it?
I mean, where I stand with Horizon is I loved the first game.
Mm-hmm.
I very liked the second game, but I think that was more of because it was just more Horizon. I think the second game is actually better, but because the first game was very new, it was like, oh, this is a new world to explore sort of stuff. It had that extra little bit of special something that the second game didn't have. I am not a DLC person, to be honest, especially when the DLC comes out about a year after the initial release of the games. Like, I put Horizon Forbidden West to bed like last year. And
yeah, you want a new title.
Yeah, if I was to go back and play like a replay Horizon Forbidden West, then I'd consider playing the DLC. But it would only be a subsequent replay sort of thing. Which is kind of why I think it's weird that it's so quiet, because they probably want to use this to try and get more people to go, hey, remember that game you liked? Well, we'll bring out new content. Remember the game? Like, get it back in people's minds.
Yeah. Do you think there's a possibility of it being delayed? And maybe that's why they're not kind of...
I don't know. I don't think so, because it's 19th of April it comes out. If it was going to be delayed, I think they would have probably delayed it by now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're getting very close. The closer you get to that date, the harder it is to actually push it back.
Yeah, true. So it's more of a case of them just maybe being quiet through missteps in marketing.
It might just be a case of they're planning a big marketing push when they hit that like 1 month out thing. Like, because it's not a full game, it's just DLC. PSVR 2's come out, and the one that can maybe give that a bit of room to breathe came out with a Horizon game as well. It might just be that kind of, do we push this too hard? Does it get muddy up the messaging? Do people get confused about Burning Shores and what Burning Shores is and what Call of the Mountain is? Because they're quite close together.
Potentially. I mean, I'm hoping there's like at least a tiny, tiny bit of uplift in the next kind of month, say.
Yeah.
But if track record's anything to go by, I'm kind of expecting more silence.
Yeah, it's only very quiet at the moment.
Yeah, on lots of things.
I kind of think they threw PS2 VR2 out there, and like, okay, first half of the year it's all about PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Let's try and keep any bigger titles like away from it that a bit, because we don't want it to be like crowded out. And then while it's massively done well critically, commercially it's kind of went, it's fine.
Yeah, this is a bit of a tragedy on the VR, isn't it? Because like,
it's great.
I'd love to get my hands on it, but
there's Elias Tech Tips episode on PSVR 2. He takes a very different perspective to where I've came from, where I've kind of looked at this as a gamer with limited time who's not really into VR. I was like, okay, sell me on VR, and look at the price and went, that doesn't sell me on VR. He took the point of view of, I'm big into VR. How does this stack up against an equivalent PC equivalent? So he basically priced PSVR 2 and the PlayStation 5 against an equivalent. What can I get in the PC space for that same price? And kind of like apples to apples it. So if you're into PSVR 2, you're thinking about it, I'd recommend go and watch his video.
There's a top tip for you there.
Yeah,
shout out to Linus's Tech Tips.
See one of the biggest YouTubers on the platform.
Yeah. It's always good when bigger YouTubers send audience to small channels like Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah. I'm just saying, he just if you're like, okay, like because it's just because he had such a different perspective. And it's like, I actually agree with every single word you're saying. Mm-hmm. However, I still stand by every single word I said.
Yeah, the world is perspectives.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, moving on. Talk about perspectives. City Skylines 2. Apparently it's coming out later this year on PS5.
I'm super excited for this game.
Same. I've played City Skylines on Switch. Not Switch, on Stadia. So I don't actually have it anymore. And I really enjoyed it. And they keep bringing out stuff for it. And then it's like, surely it's time for 2. So I'm glad it's been announced.
Yeah, 100%. I will be playing it on PC. I'm not touching this on PlayStation just because it's too much of a title to play on PC, right?
Oh, me, same. I'm glad it's coming to PlayStation and I'm glad it's coming to Xbox, but it's a PC game.
100%. But like, one of the nicest things I see about this is that they're leaving. Go back to a previous conversation. They're leaving last gen behind for this game, which I think is what's needed for the scale of this game. Like, just get the processing power of the new consoles.
That's probably what people want from a new City Skyline game. It's like, well, actually, we really like the last one, but it's showing its age.
Yeah.
Make that game today.
Yeah.
That's
make the 2023 version of.
It's a remake of City Skylines. That's
like
remake it
perpetually
with
remake
modern
that game,
sensibilities. Yeah, just
100%.
Just do it again. Bring in some new mechanics, tweak some things. Yes, there's nothing wrong. Sometimes we're just going, you know what, this is great, but it's aged out. Let's bring in a effectively. I mean, they're not calling it a remake. That's just how I'm defining it. But it's like,
I mean, the Civilization games have done very well working on that kind of iterative approach to kind of the same core concept, but just done in a more updated and kind of fresh way. And yeah.
But the weird thing with Civ actually is I'm reluctant to buy any more Civ games because while I do really like them, I tend to play them for like maybe a week once a year.
Yeah.
So I'm not burnt out on them at all. So it's like, I'm not at the point where I'm playing constantly and going, I really need the new games. Like, I'm happy to go back to, I think it's Civ 5 I've got. Does me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, good news for you. We'll touch on this on XPass. But if you are the type of person to drop into Civ 6 every now and again, then there's going to be an easy way for you to do it. But you'll have to listen to XPass to find out how.
We will. But you know what, Rob? What you won't have to wait till XPass to hear about. Suicide Squad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's been delayed again.
I mean,
I don't know what to say about this game, to be honest. I don't. I mean,
if I could rank how sick I am of hearing about this game, and it's not even came out, it would be somewhere in between, kind of like. Do you know people who always talk about kind of Aragon breaking his foot when he kicks the Urukai helmet? It's like that. Suicide Squad is in between, and then. And like the thing I don't want to hear about anymore is Kanye West's opinion on kind of Jewish people. Like that's how sick I am of hearing about Suicide Squad, and it's not even out yet. This game cannot do well, I don't think.
It was due to come out the 26th of May, and apparently, according to Bloomberg, developer Rocksteady needs more time to iron out bugs and polish some aspects of the title, but the core gameplay won't be affected to a meaningful degree.
I mean, how long has this been? There's no way, right?
Yeah. I just every more I hear about it, the more I see of it, I just think this game is just going to come out to die.
I feel like it's, even if it's a decent improvement on Gotham Knights, it's still going to just come out and die, I think. And I know we've been super negative about the game for a long time on this podcast, but
I think they'll find an audience. Marvel's Avengers found an audience for a while, but don't think...
will it be a good game?
For the IP they're using, for the DC IP, and with how determined DC seems to be for Suicide Squad to be something relevant, it just doesn't look like... It looks like this is just got the Suicide Squad curse where everything just looks like very distinctly missable. It's like going, it's enjoyable, but I've got other stuff to do.
No, I completely agree, and it's.
Yeah.
I wish it was good, but it's not going to be good. Mystic Meg prediction there. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Mystic Meg. But you know what? Apparently, well, it didn't look good, but apparently it sold 600 million downloads. eFootball.
So this is kind of like an egg on face moment.
This is one of
because,
them. Yeah, go on.
Like, do you remember like us in like I think it was like a month ago talking about this game coming out, and we're like, what the hell is this game? Why is it coming out? It has no chance. 600 million downloads later, and it's like, what?
Well, this is why I put it in, because like I just assumed, like, I don't know, I just saw like all the footage in the gameplay and I went, nah, I'm good. And I'm a big football fan. And then it came out like last August, and then I never heard anything of it till I saw this article. I was like, what, really? 600 billion downloads? Like,
yeah, but also like, who?
I mean, it is free to play.
I know, but even so, like, I just didn't think it would get this much penetration. I feel like maybe it's mobile that's driving it.
Maybe it could be. Is it on mobile? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a mobile download as well. So maybe it's tapping into that mobile market, which we probably unfairly gloss over a lot of the time when we talk kind of gaming as a kind of topic, just because we're not that type of gamer.
Yeah.
But it does, maybe that's like, it's like a little secret there. I would be interested to see how many people have downloaded it and continued playing it, which I feel would be significantly less than 600 million.
Oh yeah, but that's going to be the same for anything. Like anything you bring out is going to have a lot of people try it, and then even if apart from the Last of Us TV show, which seems to just keep going upwards, most things will have like first episode or game will go really well and then it'll fall off. Nothing gets like, it's very difficult to get that incredibly high retention on anything.
Except Last of Us.
The fact that they've got 600, I suppose because it is free to play, and Pro Evo kind of, it still has a warm place in people's hearts, even if it just kind of fell away at the end. It's like people go, well, I like Pro Evo, it's free to play, why not give it a go?
True. And the interesting thing is, if this game turns out to have legs on it, the mess that's kind of happening with...
It's a football game.
Wait, I'll do the math. 44 legs. Okay. Like, if it does have like legs as a game, then the trouble that's kind of like, and like the uncertainty around FIFA and what's going to happen with that franchise, like maybe there's like this kind of stealth giant that's like sleeping at the moment, which is going to kind of come in, kind of inject itself in a big way into like the football gaming zeitgeist, if you want.
I kind of think part of the rebrand was to stop it getting put up against FIFA or EA Sports FC, whatever it's going to be called going forward from this year. I think that was part of the plans. Like, you know what? When it's no longer going to be paid for title, it's going to be free to play. We're going to maybe take a step back in quality so we can get it on things like on smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're no longer going to be competing head to head against FIFA when they've got all the licensing. It's like we'll find a different market. We'll use our experience, find a different market. Yeah. It almost makes me want to give it a go. Not quite that.
Yeah, I'm not into football enough to even consider it. Even in the same way I wouldn't consider FIFA. But
yeah, I think if I hadn't bought FIFA this year on my Xbox, I would probably go, you know what, it's worth a download.
Yeah.
But I mean,
this is the crazy thing now. Like, talking generally about the way I view games now, because I've got Game Pass, I've got PlayStation Plus, kind of with like a massive collection of titles. I've stopped seeing games so much as like a purchase price and more of like a download cost, where it's like, ooh, that's an interesting game I want to try out. It's like, oh, it's 60 gig though. But yeah, it's not worth the space on my hard drive.
Me and Chris have been talking about this a bit recently, like with things like Game Pass now, PlayStation Plus has changed, how you view purchasable games has very much shifted. It's like, I'm less inclined to buy games that I'm not certain on. Like
Yeah, it
Hogwarts,
feels like
like
a
I see,
luxury.
you and Chris were raving over it. It's like, okay, if you two are both raving over it, I'm going to enjoy it. Like your girlfriend as well was raving over it as well. That actually helped a lot because I know how much she likes the franchise. So she likes the IP. You two like the game. It seems like a must play. So that's when, okay, pull out the credit card, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
But I was on the fence before then. Where it's like,
I
it's
feel
a
like you
game
would have
where
waited for it to drop in price, or
if I didn't
go
have
on to
Game
one of the
Pass,
services.
if I didn't have Game Pass, didn't have PlayStation Plus, I think I would have bought it straight away.
Yeah. Again, like you in the same way that Netflix changed the way you buy Blu-rays and things like that, these kind of subscription services are changing the way people purchase games as well, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, the other side of the same coin is all three of us at Helix Plays Games have played Warlong to varying degrees of success.
Yes.
Would any of us bought that game?
No, I don't think so, because I'd completely... I'd fell out of the Dynasty Warriors like kind of cycle of buying the newest game, and B, I wasn't a fan of kind of Soul-style combat. So I definitely would have completely kind of glossed over that game, which I'm now very, very much enjoying.
Yeah. The thing is, I might have considered continuing playing if on Friday night during the live stream I did get past the first boss. That might have got some... It is that weird things like that might have went, you know what, keep going. But it's the fact that I don't want to put any more time into that fight.
You have to, though, because me and Chris have both done it now.
Yeah, but I've got other stuff to play.
Should I just come around and do the boss for you, and then you can play the rest of the game?
I won't. There won't be any satisfaction in that. It's like it's a game where you do have to get, as much as it is like get good. It's like you do have to get good, because if I don't get to a good enough level of play, my ability to play the game, then I'm just going to suffer for the entire thing, and then
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting locked into a race with our Discord members on how many bosses we can complete.
It's good.
I'm into that.
Yeah, but I think one last story to round up the show. We're just going to go brief on this one because I think it's kind of we knew where this was at. Forspoken continues to disappoint for Square Enix. So Square Enix is called Forspoken sales lackluster.
Yeah, and I think that's I feel like that's kind, right? So every other day I run past a big billboard with Forspoken still on it. It's by the Sainsbury's in close by you, Richie. Like I go by it every other day and I see it and I look sad at what like the game's reception is. Square Enix, too many games. They all start competing against each other. They need to chill out and just kind of focus on a few core titles, I think.
Well, this is kind of what they are. I think they are doing with a bit of consolidation. But this was kind of the almost. It feels like the story of what could have been, because it looked like it could have been amazing, and then it's
so many positives.
The reviews just came out and went, it's just kind of bland.
Yeah, I feel like the foundational bricks were there. If they just spent more resource from other games and put it into this game, built on top of that, it could have been a new franchise, and now it's just, I feel, consigned to the dustbin of gaming history.
I kind of think is this just one of them things where gaming is an art form where sometimes the formula can produce this like wondrous piece of magic, like, and sometimes you just get, well, it's functionally fine.
It's a hotel watercolor, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like compared to like something like a Picasso, it's like functionally they're both paintings.
Yeah, but one is one.
One of them for some. There's something about the Picasso that art critics have been discussing for hundreds of years about what makes this thing special. Where this is like, that's a pretty picture.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't really know why, because I played the demo. I was excited going on the demo, and I don't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on why. I'm just not feeling this game. Well,
I think like on the flip side, it's a case of like, A, you can't find a reason why you're not feeling the game, but B, you can't find a reason to keep playing. Like, those are two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah. That was it. It's like, there's something about this game means I don't want to play it. I'm no longer interested. But it's a shame.
It is.
Maybe they'll find a way to, I don't know how to resurrect it, or maybe it is just done. But you know what is done, Rob?
Yeah, they'll get the hit out of like the next Final Fantasy, which is on the horizon.
Next Final Fantasies. We've got at least 2 this year.
Sorry, yeah. And then that'll be the success for Square Enix, right?
Yeah. Do you think Square Enix might end up going like the Ubisoft rules? Go, nothing's working apart from Final Fantasy. Where for Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed, just do that lots of times.
Honestly, I feel like they're getting bought. Actually, they're getting bought out soon.
I say that Octopath's doing really well. Like, I'm just talking about my ass here. Like,
it is. It's like Octopath is doing really well, but it's one of what, like 15 titles they've brought out.
You could slap the word Final Fantasy in front of that game and people go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 2D Final Fantasy. Like,
yeah,
to throw back the SNES era stuff. That's kind of what that game is. But that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the show, make sure you hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99 pence. We have Discord, which Rob has mentioned, where you can challenge Rob to see how many bosses you can beat before Rob gets there in our Discord server. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Chris. No, it hasn't. My name's been Richie.
If you assume the mantle, is it like the Black Panther? It's like
yeah.
Okay, I've been Richie apparently, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye bye.